Hi, my name is Latrice Alexander, and I am an attorney. I am also a featured woman of the May 2024 edition of the Bold Maven magazine.
What do you do?
I am a personal injury and civil rights attorney in the Metro Atlanta, Georgia area. I handle civil rights matters all over the United States, and I am also a nonprofit board member, a mother, a wife, and just an all-around busy person.
What schools did you attend?
So I am from Georgia. Originally, I was born in Portland, Oregon, but I've been here for high school, which is Berkmar High School in Gwinnett County. I was at Georgia State University in the Atlanta metro area, and I went to law school at Mercer University School of Law in Macon, Georgia.
When did you know you wanted to become a lawyer?
I wanted to become a lawyer. I knew when I was young. So my grandmother actually worked at the DA's office. She was part of a welfare to work program, and they actually had her be the secretary to the district attorney of our county. So ever since I was younger, I always used to read a lot of books, and my mom was like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said I wanted to be an attorney. And my mother always has this funny joke about how she asked me for like years what I wanted to be, and it never changed. It's always been an attorney or a lawyer.
Can you talk us through your journey to starting your own firm?
It was a rough journey. I started out working at the PD's office as a public defender. From there, I went into private practice where I did some bankruptcy litigation. And from there, I actually split off and started my own firm. At the time, the firm that I was working with was having some scandals going on. And so I started my own firm, and I went from doing bankruptcy litigation for that firm to opening up the Latin Law Group. At that time, I was doing some mortgage litigation, some bankruptcy litigation, which was actually a very niche area that a lot of bankruptcy attorneys weren't doing. And so I basically walked out with a referral source because a lot of the bankruptcy attorneys were referring me their cases, which I was allowed to handle, which a lot of people didn't know how to do at the time.
What does the typical workday look like for you?
Today, my work days are actually really good. I've been practicing for over 15 years, so I do not kill myself at all. I normally wake up in the morning around 8 a.m. and I do my Bible study, and then I'll sit in my bed and look at emails for about an hour and a half. I schedule all of my calls from 10 a.m. until about 4 or 5. So I may have meetings, I'll have staff meetings, I may have to go out and have lunches. I'll go through my email inbox, I'll send out tasks to my staff, virtual assistants, check mail. Those are my normal, typical days. It's really laid back, a 10 to 4 day. And then some days I may have to go to court. Some days I may have a bunch of client intakes or consults. And if it gets to a point where I have like a mediation or a out of town court hearing, I may do a lot more. But that's my typical day.
Why did you decide to incorporate civil rights into your firm?
So civil rights has always been a passion point for me. When I say I started out as a criminal defense attorney, that was my goal. Like, I watched Matlock. I knew that I was going to be the #1 criminal defense attorney in the world, right? I love the fact of being able to get people off for things that I knew that they were not guilty of. I just love the criminal aspect of things, and I realized that after a time, the criminal law system was so bureaucratical that I didn't want to stick to it anymore. And I moved into personal injury, but I still always had this love and passion for criminal law. So civil rights was kind of the next step forward, where I was dealing with the personal injury aspect of helping individuals who were harmed, but I was also dealing with the social aspect of criminal law. So by not just the law itself, but also the process and making sure that the due process was happening for people who were in the criminal law system. So that's what kind of got me involved in civil rights. That's why I love it.
How has your experience been as a Black woman in your industry?
That's funny. So knowing that Black women are less than probably 1% of the overall legal field it's noticeable every day. I think that people think that you have the same experience as other women, right? But Black women in the legal field are our own subcategory because one, we don't get treated the way that men do. You have a white male hierarchy. Then you have, I would say, probably the black male hierarchy under that. Then you have a white female hierarchy, and then you have black women kind of at the end of that spectrum. So we're not seen as equals to our white women counterparts as much. We're definitely not seen as equal to the men in our industry. So we kind of have our own part of the industry, but then you have black women who are going against each other because they know that there's only so many jobs out there, right? So it kind of creates this crab in the barrel type atmosphere for us, but I've really learned to kind of hone that in and try to bring black women together in our field to realize that we're stronger together than apart. So instead of fighting for those few positions that others are giving us, let's start creating our own positions and helping each other get to that different place, because if you don't have someone who understands specifically what you're going through, you're not going to be able to get through it.
To the young women of color who dream of becoming an attorney, what is your advice to them?
Girl, do something else. Like, at the end of the day, it sounds good, but there's so many other things that are needed out there. There's plenty of attorneys. Our industry is saturated, right? Don't become an IG model, but find something to do, a business, be an entrepreneur. The medical field needs black women. Like, I don't think people understand. Back in the day, it was like you can become a doctor or a lawyer, right? If you don't like blood, you become a doctor or you become a lawyer. If you're okay with blood, you become a doctor. But I think as far as the black female attorney section goes, it's not what people think it is. It's not as advanced as people think it is. We are still in the point, I can still walk into a courtroom and I'm seen as the defendant. I still get discriminated against to this day. I've been practicing for over 15 years. I'm still trying to make the same strides that should have been made in other fields. So I'm not saying don't do that, but if you're coming in thinking that it's a lot of money, that's not the case. If you're coming in this thinking that you're going to make a change, that also may not be the case. If you come into this field, you have to actually love and have a passion for what you're doing. You don't become a black female attorney thinking that that's going to garner you respect or that's going to get you money or that's going to get you fame, because more likely than not, you're going to realize that this isn't a field that you wanted to go into. So if you do this, you have to have a real passion for what you're doing. I have a passion for civil rights. I have a passion for criminal law. So because I have that passion, I can go into this and do this and know that I may not make the same amount of money as other people. I may not make a lot of money all the time, but I still need to keep going based off me wanting to make sure that the passion that I have is being done throughout this career field.
Besides work, how do you like to fill your days?
I like to do Bible study. I like to cook. I absolutely love to cook. So I cook gourmet meals for my family at least 3 times a week. I like to research. I'm a big research buff, so I read anything. I don't care if it's about the weather, the White House, how to garden, what's going on in Dubai with some floods. Like, I'm reading every single thing possible. I love information, so I'm constantly updating myself on different things that are going on. And I like spending time with family, and I like to take naps. That's one of my biggest things.
Thinking of the younger you, what advice would you give yourself?
I think the advice that I would give my younger self is that you can do whatever you set your mind to, and that's something that I've lived my life by. And don't listen to what other people say, because the only person that you have to answer to in the end is God. So,
is there anyone that you would like to shout out?
I would like to shout out Praise, my wonderful PR manager, branding, Elements of Delight. I would like to shout out my husband, because without him, I couldn't be in this field and doing the things that I'm doing without his support. I would like to shout out my kids, because sometimes they help, but most of the time they're more of a burden than anything. And I would like to shout out anybody else who has helped me get to this place on this journey. All the black female attorneys out there, I see you, I understand you, and solidarity.
Final question. How can our audience reach you and your law firm?
Well, you can reach me on the web at thejustattorney.com. That's our website. It's also The Just Attorney for all social media, so LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, IG, and you can also call our office at 678-890-5868. To continue this conversation, you can read my story on theboldmaven.com. Subscribe to the Bold Maven newsletter to gain access to their digital magazine.